Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for turning on your camera too.
Yeah.
So that way we can see faces. Happy New Year, everyone. I mean, we can still say Happy New Year in February, I believe. So thank you so much for having me. It's good to be back. I would say. I think the last session I had was about 2 years ago, right, Yusuf? I think about
Yeah.
2 years ago.
It's been a
Wow,
while.
it's been a while. It's been a while. So, thank you all. I mean, thank you to you. So, I mean, you did a fantastic job with the Utopia mentoring program, and I mean, I see the debates, the competitions, and I'm really impressed. Like, well done to you and the team of volunteers, everyone involved. I mean, everyone. So I'm going to be sharing my screen shortly. Um, this is a storytelling session. I call myself a storyteller, and I just wanted to talk about, my experience so far in the career in the corporate world. I've, by God's grace, in January, yes, of this year, I celebrated 10 years. Since I started working, and I was like, wow, time really flies. But the good thing about this last decade has been it has been a season of learning, unlearning, and relearning in every single term. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to share and also take questions, especially because I understand that the audience here are young graduates or undergraduates or persons just starting out in their career. And I mean, for Yusuf, I mean, professors also. So it's like, it's a blend, but it's a good thing that we're all either aspiring professionals or professionals in our own rights. So very quickly, I tagged my session. Best thing we'll talk about would be to just tell the story of how it has been so far. The story how it has been, the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens of the corporate world. So that is what I'm going to be talking about today. So because I'm using my phone, I'm taking a bit to share my screen, but I believe if I share it, I can actually like put it in a presentation mode. So that way kind of flows. So let me try it again. Give me a minute, please. Okay. Voilà. I think we have it. So to share my screen. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for confirming. So I know you can see my literal full screen, but I'm just going to try and go to the slides. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Awesome. So I'm just trying to go to the slides and then we can present.
Okay, cool.
Right. I literally use my phone. So this is the first tool that I use for my work. Like my Google Drive is on my phone, my emails are on my phone, my presentations also come up on my phone. This has been like the first way to
That's
work.
2024.
Work on like when a presentation in 1 hour, you just open your phone and start typing.
All right.
The first message, like you put your work on your phone as much as you can. Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. So, I'll just share for about 15 minutes if that's okay
Yeah.
with you and everyone here, so we can take questions because that's the good thing about being in this kind of sessions, being able to ask questions, the mentor, and then I can answer based on your pain points or what you want to learn. So My name is Blessing Ofure
Can you,
Okoro.
sorry, can you do full screen?
Okay.
It's very small.
All right. I just did a presentation mode. I'm just going to switch my screen. Is
Yeah.
it better?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Well, I've learned this phone thing. Don't worry. Well, this. So, so very quickly, my session is tagged the highs, lows, and in-betweens of the corporate world. My name is Blessing Ofure Okoro. I'm a programs coordinator. I'm currently a programs coordinator. Prior to this time, I was a digital marketing specialist. So that's one thing you're going to notice. My career has evolved over time. I'm also a manager, and I've been in the corporate space for 10 years now. So I have a blend of experience across industries, cutting from professional services to finance to nonprofits to accounting to even communications. And at the point I was in tech. So I have a blend of experience across various industries because I've kind of worked with different clients on various projects. So my clients come from various industries. So and I've also worked in companies that worked on specific sectors. So that kind of gives me that bird's eye view of like various industries and various problems, as it were. Over the years, I've worked with various multinationals and organizations, especially multicultural ones. And I was just getting used to that. I speak English and French from having to live in France for almost 6 years. So I worked with, I started out my career with Ernst& Young, EY, Nigeria, moved on to PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, Nigeria. And then after my MBA program, I worked with an agency, yeah, in France, Darwin. And then I entered the nonprofit space. I worked with Friends of Nigeria, Europe, and I worked with a nonprofit back home, Africa Policy Conversations Initiative. Um, tells my career journey to a large extent. Now, the things that have helped me along my career path was first, I call them the corporate best practices. And why do I call them this? I believe excellence is very important in the corporate space, and we cannot overemphasize it because I believe we solve important problems as professionals. I remember one of the PwC values or one of the PwC goals was solving important problems and helping clients overcome whatever challenges they might face. So to bring it home, I'm looking at sharing this presentation in the form of a journey mapping. So looking at the career journey as a whole. Right now, the best practices for excellence in the corporate world, we cover those things that you need to know if you're projecting your career from between now and the next 10 years and the next 15 years or the next 20 years, no matter the number of years you want to be in the corporate space. So what are those things that have helped me so far that will help me in the coming years and I believe can also help every single person on this call today? The first one has been resilience. So when I say resilience, I mean this corporate world, this corporate journey has been one of the ability to keep going without losing enthusiasm. Someone said that success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. So when you do not have, I tag this bit, when you do not have a job or a project, create one. I know it sounds funny, because if I'm in the corporate world, it means I have a job. I'm talking about the case where you actually are going through maybe they're looking for jobs basically. You're applying and you're either a fresh graduate or maybe you work 2 to 3 years or you work for 5 years and something happens and you needed to leave your job or you needed to quit your job or something happened. When COVID happened, for example, a lot of companies went under. So that was the classic case of what do we do now? Now, what do you do at the point where your career has gotten to maybe like a standstill, where you had to leave a job or where you didn't get a job on time? You create one. So this is a part of, I call it the freelance model. being able to sit down and consider your skill sets and say to yourself, I can actually add this into my career path while I look for my next job. So it's a case of what I did from 2020 to 2023. I was working as an independent freelance communication specialist. I had my own clients. I had my own company, and that formed an integral part of my career journey. Anyone that sees my CV will never notice there was a gap from 2020 to 2023 because I filled that gap by creating a job for myself. So that's the question of that's an example of how resilience was played out along my career journey. The second one is courage. I say courage because we do not talk about it enough. I mean, it's tough out there. If anyone tells you it's easy, it's because they've overcome the toughness. So that's when it becomes easy. But you have to first understand that it is tough in the corporate world. So the part of courage is being able to make decisions without feeling bad, as a professional. Tough decisions. Now, in this part, I said when you do not like the career path you are on, you are free to switch. I think this is a thing that has kept a lot of professionals bound, I would say, or in a particular sport where they realize that they're not advancing. Because it's that fear of if I leave my job, if I leave this industry, if I leave this sector, if I leave this boss, what's going to happen to me? It's a valid question, but you also have to ask yourself, if I don't leave this job, if I don't leave this career path, if I don't leave this sector, and I'm talking about the scenarios when it's no longer favorable to you, your skill set, or your pocket. So if I don't take this bold decision, if I don't make this tough decision, what's going to happen to me 5 years from now, 10 years from now? So I know another reason why it's tough to transition. Now, this is a classic case. Not everybody goes through this, but I went through this, so I added it to my story. So in 2017, I had to leave the career path I was on. I am, if anyone knows me well, you realize I'm a writer, I'm an author, I have stories in my head. So from 2015 to 2017, I was an auditor. I was working in one of the big fours, fantastic place. But I was looking at numbers all day, and I'm like, I cannot continue the rest of my career path looking at these numbers. Now I love numbers because they threw them at me. I had to look at like over in a day over 10,000 figures, But if I'm not exaggerating, but yeah, by the time I was done with audits, I can look at figures and I can tell you 2 minutes later what the numbers are, because that's the level of exposure I had to numbers when I was an auditor. But I didn't want to do that for like the next 15 years. I was like, I don't want to end up hating the skill set that is required for my job. And I wanted my writing, my storytelling to thrive. I didn't want to kill that. So I had to do a career switch. I had to swallow courage pills and I had to transition. And one thing that helps when I'll go back to that point, why people actually stuck, why they don't know how to move forward, because they don't actually realize that if you further your education, you can transition easily to your next role. So I call this the further education model. When I realized that I was not going to be able to, like, if I continued, I would have just kept on moving to another audit firm, another big four. I said, it's time to leave and go to school. Let me just go to school, like go and do a career break, but I'm not like looking for a job. I'm furthering my education. So that helped me to transition. But I was done with my MBA degree. One thing I was sure was I was not going back to audit. Then I started building another career path for myself. And that took courage. So that's one thing every professional will need to be excellent in the corporate world. Another one is teachability. So it's a question of when you start working, you have to begin by learning soft skills. We don't say this enough. I remember when I was in school, we had a lot of sessions on life after school. That's when I was an undergraduate, when I was finishing my bachelor's program. This was about 2013. We had a lot of sessions on life after school. And one thing they kept on telling us, and I thank God they did, that when you go into the corporate world, don't seek to learn all the technical skills at this stage, at least seek to learn the soft skills. You can start by learning how to smile. Yes, learning how to interact with colleagues, interpersonal skills, because as you grow higher, your skill sets are important, but the things that will keep you opening doors, like it's one thing to open a door, it's another thing to stay in the place where the doors will open. The things that will keep you in the places you go to, 60% to a large extent are your soft skills, being able to interact with colleagues, being adaptable, being able to, smile. I don't know why I keep repeating being able to smile, because it's a serious job out there, but people are actually human beings and they want you to a large extent to interact as a human being. So soft skills are really important. And one way, I know people on this call might be asking, oh, if I'm a fresh graduate, how do I even start out? You can actually learn soft skills from your jobs as an intern. I think internship is a solid move that we don't talk about enough, because nobody puts pressure on the intern. They just believe you are learning, and that is what you're actually doing. So internship is a very fantastic way to start out on your career journey. When I started my internship, I did an internship in 2012 with Citibank. Citibank is a big company, but because I was an intern, nobody put pressure on me. They were like, "Oh wow, we'll be happy to teach you. Oh wow, book a 30 minutes with me." I just went there to learn for free. That's the beautiful thing about internship. And the good thing is most of the internships nowadays are paid, but nobody puts pressure on you. The level of pressure they put on the manager is extremely different from the level of pressure they put on the intern. So when you're starting out your career, as much as possible, start with internship roles and learn soft skills. Be teachable. You will need it all through your career path. Now, the fourth one, but not the least, is the best practice of leverage. And I said, as much as you can, aim to work in solid companies. And I'm not going to be kind on this. I'm a very kind person, but I'm going to say it as it is. We need to stop working for places that you cannot put on your CV on a normal day. I've worked for two companies, they're not on my CV. And I mean, I had to do the job. But I'm glad I did not start out by working for those companies. If you've started there, that's fine, but aim higher. If you started in companies that you're not proud of, aim higher. There is the company advantage. There's a leverage that you put that companies on your CV give you instantly. There are some people that tell you, "Oh, I'm ex-PwC." I can tell you today I'm ex-PwC because there's a standard of a PwC alumni or alumnus anywhere, because it's a solid company. I can tell you this for free. So as much as you can, make sure the places you're working, the places you're applying to, have solid names. Like if you go to the United States, you find out that you have B Corp companies, that companies that are socially responsible. And a lot of people are applying to those places. Why? Because they understand that if I have this company on my CV, it's going to create a leverage for me along my career path. There's some places I can go to, and I don't need to introduce myself too much. I can look at your financial statement, because when I tell you I worked in PwC as an auditor, instantly I know how to do financial statements. So that's the leverage. I call it the big four advantage. At least on my path, it could be, if you're in the tech space, it could be a Microsoft, it could be a Google. It's possible to work in Google if you're in the tech space. I think if you're working in a particular industry, you should at least have 5 of the big ones on your application list. It's possible. And I believe it will be possible for everyone here. So leverage, always remember that. Now, very quickly, I'm just going to move on to recommended industries. And why did I put this bit? I know this generation, I think it started about maybe 20, especially after COVID, but even prior to that time, it's a tech-driven generation. Everybody, all the Gen Zs, I know, want to work in the tech space, and I understand. It's good. It's fast. It's a lot of money. Well, I'm 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 not Gen Z. And the good thing is that I've worked in the tech space. Now, what I realize is that the tech space is fantastic, but it has become very crowded. So I'm here to tell you other spaces that you can work in, especially if you're thinking, if it's is it tech or nothing? There are other things to do. You know, when I came into the nonprofit space, I was like, most people don't know about the nonprofit space as much as they should because it's actually really lucrative. A lot of nonprofits are running on grants and they can pay their staff. So these are other industries and spaces to consider if you're starting out or if you're scaling or if you're transiting. You can consider the nonprofit and development space. There's the United Nations, for example, there's the unv.org, United Nations volunteers, and they pay their volunteers. If you're starting out as a UN volunteer, you can scale into working with UNDP, UNESCO, name it, UN Women. The policy and governance space. Here in Nigeria alone, there are a lot of organizations that are driving for good governance, better policies. Most of them are non-profits, but most of them are also think tanks. Most of them run on grants. But they're also like the proper governance agencies. Like, I know we're running from ministries and all of that, but if you can apply to an NNPC, you should. And I understand, you have to know your uncle, somebody there. But if you have that leverage, you actually can. And who knows? There's the aspect of favor. Now, there's also the aspect of being able to, if you're in the if you're into if you're in the political space, you're studying law or you're studying political science, you can actually apply to work in the National Assembly. It's a solid space. You can work as a legislative aide. So I'm here to tell you there are other spaces apart from tech. There's also the finance and consulting. The big fours, they didn't go out of style. They're still there. There are other consulting firms. There's McKinsey and Company. I know when I came out of school, a lot of people were applying to McKinsey, PwC, EY, but I know now there's a shift. But the good thing is because there's a shift, these spaces still exist for you to try out, and there are solid companies in these industries. So very quickly, I'm just going to run through at this stage some of the low points along my corporate journey. And when I mean the low points, let me start with the highs. Let's start with the positives. So the highs have been those experiences that have made my career worthwhile. Um, from working has enabled me make money. And the other day I was like, secure the bag because to that extent, money stops a lot of nonsense. And it's true because if you're able to earn by yourself and pay your bills, you speak less English to a large extent. So, and you're more fulfilled. And it's a good way of getting returns on your education. Why go to school and leave your degree and not use it? So you should thrive to be good at your job and make a lot of money. So that's been one of the highs. Being able to make money, earn a salary, invest, save, do what I need to do. Most of the books I've written, the two books I've written, I sponsored my publishing because I had the money from my job. So this has been a good way of, a high along my corporate journey. I've been able to build lifelong relationships. I remember a story of when I came into just last year, I started a new role and I met a colleague that I had worked with prior to that time in another company. And we just took it up from there. It was as if we just continued working together. So you will meet good people along your career path. You also meet people that you might not keep in touch with, but when you meet the good people, it builds lifelong relationships and it is good for you to have those lifelong relationships. Also, you will learn quality technical, and I've learned quality technical and soft skills, from working with reputable organizations till tomorrow. I know how to maintain corporate relationships from interning at Citibank because they were relationship managers. So they tell you how they maintain their accommodation account, how they maintain their client relationship. I continued in that with that soft skill. Like I know how to keep in touch. If I really want to, I can keep in touch with you for 10 years. and I mean, it's a corporate relationship. So that has been one of the highs, being able to learn technical skills, soft skills, and improve myself on a daily basis. Now, one of the lows have been the days I almost gave up, and I think the lows have been really intense. I remember when I was not getting paid what I was worth, and I'm like, this is not acceptable. But I'm going to start, and I'm going to learn. And then I realized that starting and learning, there's time for everything, and then there was time to leave. So I mean, not getting paid what you're worth or what I was worth has been a low for me along my career path. And I don't want to repeat that, to be honest. I've gotten to the stage of my life where pay me for what I'm worth, because I mean I've done my time, I would say. So that's been a low time along my career path. Yeah, another low time has been the seasons where I did not like the job I was doing. I already explained that looking at numbers all the time. Now I can look at numbers, but when I started out, it was a lot. But I'm glad that's not the job I have to do. So that was a low time, literally, because excuse me, I believe in excellence, and excellence literally starts from the skill set. And most of my skills, most of the things that propel you to excellence are the things that are innate. So if you know you love words, I will encourage you to work in a role that has the base of writing. So my current role, I'm either writing an invitation letter, writing a report. It's better for me, because I have that skill set within me. It's innate. Another low time has been when I had to go through a career pause that was longer than expected. When I was in France for like 3 years post COVID, I kept on applying for roles. There were no roles. I had to learn language. I learned language. I had to gain a particular experience. I'm like, this is getting too much. So that was a low time for me. Being in a job search phase